Thank you very much for the invitation this afternoon. Your chairman has already announced the amount of money that will be distributed amongst you. I think I would like to very quickly highlight and bring to point some very key methods. I'd like to re-echo the sentiments by the CEO, your CEO, regarding this public-private partnership, as I've said before. There were many people who were very skeptical about the public-private partnership when this had first started. I know some staff were actually skeptical about it. Some people on the outside were skeptical about it. But government has a long-term strategy. It has a goal. And that goal, ladies and gentlemen, amongst other things, is to ensure that Fiji economically becomes the powerhouse of the South Pacific. To be able to do that, we need to be able to divert our resources both in what we call hard infrastructure, that is, putting up buildings, buying things, construction, what we call soft infrastructure, which is your technology, which is your IT systems, which also includes, the third element is your human resources development. It's very, very important to do that. And if you are able to get those three key things, three issues in place in alignment, then your ability to perform as a country is actually unlimited. Many countries that have done really well have had long-term goals regarding where the country will head towards. Singapore, as I've said, I think I've said it here before, Singapore was way behind in Fiji in the 1960s. Economically, they were a lot more depressed. They had slums in their country. The productivity levels weren't good. The people who were living in squatters, they did not have an economic base. Today, Singapore is miles ahead of us. They used to, in fact, at one point in time, come to Fiji to see how things should be done. Today, we want to go there to see how things should be done. The only point of difference is this. Their leadership had a long-term goal. Their leadership believed in the economic empowerment of their people. And the only way to economically empower your people is to ensure that you have a strategy in place. That you say, okay, Singapore decided we're a small country. They're about double the size of Taveuni. That's the size of Singapore. Taveuni is about 410 square kilometers. They're about 710. So they decided we're in a small country. What are the advantages that we can have because we're surrounded by all these vastly populated countries? They recognize the strategy. In the same way, the Fijian government, under our Prime Minister, has decided a strategy for Fiji. Because we are a seafaring country, we're a maritime country, we need to ensure that our port system is strong. We need to ensure our airport system is strong. We need to ensure that our national airline does well. We need to also ensure that all government entities, all government ministries, government-owned institutions look after their staff well also. Because as the CEO highlighted, as the chairman has highlighted, if you are able to ensure that you have the right staff for the right job and you invest in them, the level of productivity will increase. Everybody talks about now how the turnaround times at Suva Port has increased. I get private sector people saying, hey, it's doing really well. And then they say, what more can you do? I'll give you an example. In in Fiji, to register a company before used to take 1 year. 1 year. Then we reduced it to 6 months. Then we reduced it to a few months. Sometimes it takes longer, sometimes it takes a shorter time. When I was in Singapore a few years ago, they registered their company in 15 minutes. And you know what they said to me? They said, this is too long. Our target is 3 minutes. We have to register a company in 3 minutes. That's the level of standard that they have set for themselves. We import all our oil, all our fuel comes from Singapore. Guess what? Singapore has got no fuel. It's got no fuel, no oil. Brings oil from other countries, they refine it in their country and they export it to everywhere else. So that's the type of strategy they had in place. We similarly have a strategy. And in order for us to be able to achieve that, we need to be able to work with all the parties. In order to achieve that, we need to be able to invite strategic partners. This is why we've got Aitken Spence here, to work with us. And you can see the rewards yourself. Today you are getting that reward yourself in your own pocket. By getting a lot more throughput through your port, you can also increase the number of jobs. By getting throughputs, better efficiency, you'll be able to get better bonuses. Government has announced in the budget, as you saw, we've increased the salaries for civil servants. When the unions came to me, they came to me and said to me, can you increase the pay rise across the board 15%? That's the old way of thinking. Old way of thinking. Because there are some people who come to work at 9 o'clock when they're supposed to be at work at 8:30. And they start combing their hair at 4 o'clock when they're supposed to leave at 4:30. If this gentleman here does his work really well, and this gentleman doesn't, why should he get the same pay rise as him? It's a disincentive for him not to work well. You say, well, there's the point. But it's not just that. Even before that, one of the things we did in the civil service, we said that we need to be able to recognize the specialist skill sets. I'll give you an example. A nurse. When you go to the hospital, there is a nurse who you may, for example, you get a cut at work, you go to the outpatients. You may have a gash below your knee. And that nurse puts the band-aid or the bandage around your cut. Then you have another nurse who is highly specialized, who actually works with heart surgeries, or works with what they call, when they put the wire, I forget the name, through your heart, through your veins to see how your heart, is there a blockage or not. And they put a stent, your vein collapses. That's how you get a heart attack, when your arteries block. So if it's blocked, what they do, they go into the wire, they push up the wall, and they put this thing called stent. It's like a wire mesh, so the blood flows, so your heart starts pumping again. You have nurses who actually work with doctors to do that. Now, before this announcement, the nurse who does that, working with the stenting, and the nurse who puts the bandage around your knee, gets paid the same salary. If the nurse who puts the bandage around your knee makes a mistake, covers the wrong place, you can take out the bandage and put it in the right place. If the nurse who makes the mistake here, this thing collapses, you die. So you need to be able to recognize the special skill set she has. So today, with the civil service announcements, you have some nurses, recognizing the speciality, have received a pay rise of 80%. 80%. Some, of course, have received a lower pay rise, given the skill sets that they have. You see, when the unions came, they would have shortchanged that lady who got an 80% pay rise today. This is the old way of thinking. So in order for us to be able to become a lot more productive, in order for us to become a lot more in tune with the 21st century global economy, we need to be able to recognize that. I know I'm giving a bit of a spiel, but I'd like you to understand where we're heading. You saw in the budget we announced huge amounts of changes in social welfare payments. People are now receiving a higher level of social welfare payment. Why are we able to do that? We just decide overnight. We've been planning this. But you need to be able to be economically strong to do that. Today in Fiji, if you earn less than $30,000, you don't pay any income tax. When the Beni Marama government was appointed, income tax level at that time was $8,400, $8,600. If you earned more than that, you had to pay tax. Then we moved it up to $16,000. Now it's $30,000. So every single cent that you earn, none of it goes to government, it goes in your pocket, except for a small portion of 8%, it goes to FNPF for your savings. We are able to do that because the economy is strong. We are able to project that this is what's going to happen in the economy. But none of this is achievable if all of us don't work together as a team. That's my main point. And we need to be able to think long term. We need to have consistency in policy. We can't chop and change things every 4 years, every 2 years, every 5 years even for that matter. We need to have the same thought. And if we are able to achieve that, ladies and gentlemen, what you are receiving today will be a lot more in the years to come. What your children will receive in a few years to come will be a lot more. Today, every single child in Fiji has the ability to finish Form 7, up to year 13 as they call it now. Every single child. No excuse. You can't say, I can't send my son or daughter to school because I don't have school fees. Everybody can go to school. And if they get a place in a university, they can go to university even if they don't get a scholarship. We'll pay for them. They pay a loan back once they start working. That's fine. In very simple terms. So what we are doing is we are investing in the future. In 5 or 6 years' time, we'll have a whole group of people in Fiji who will be well educated, whether through university or whether through a technical college. You have a hand in that, because when you do well, we do well. When the port runs well, more people come through here, we get more revenue. People use our services, they pay VAT. When we collect VAT, we actually then use that money to build infrastructure. We use that money to actually provide free education. That's how the system works. I'd like to thank you very much for your contribution towards ensuring the Fiji Ports Terminal is doing well. There's obviously a lot more room for improvement always with the new technology, new machines. We have some other programs in place where we're trying to get more hubbing status for Fiji. There are many things, for example, that our Honourable Prime Minister is doing as President of COP23. He was also the Chairman of G77. It brings a lot of attention to Fiji. We have a lot more people who want to come, they want to invest in Fiji. They see Fiji as doing the right thing, as a good global citizen. So all of these things do matter. So we actually have to support our PM in respect of all the international work he's doing, because it's giving us dividends for all of us. And you have a very pivotal role in that respect. So I wish you very well for the rest of the year. Hopefully, Chairman, I can see you again this year. I've said to the Chairman, please don't have garlands next time because they cost a lot of money. If they save that money, we can give it to you too. You know, thank you very much for your contribution. Just remember, we all work together as a team. I also would like to, you know, acknowledge the fact that we have some other plans in place regarding the port development and other, you know, issues in place with the Fiji Ports Corporation Limited is dealing with. So, Vinakavakalevu, please spend your money wisely. We'd like you to spend it, but spend it wisely. And I wish you all the best. Vinakavakalevu. Thank you.